Oh, maybe I did. Okay. Okay, so to my one viewer, welcome. I'm just getting. I've been a long time off doing live streams for YouTube. I'm usually just sort of producing videos, so it's been a fair while, and I've set up with a different operating system now. I've got Streamlabs, so I've been just trying to kind of figure it out. And yeah, so excuse all the deliberations, but basically the plan really for this evening was just to have a chilled kind of doodle. I was just going to show my sketchbook. I tend to kind of try and sort of do analog doodling as I go along. I tend to do a lot of digital, but it's mainly, that's what it is mainly. But I want to kind of get back more into, just looking at doing like, pen and ink, drawing characters. I find it quite relaxing anyway, but I think it's just a really nice thing to do. It doesn't involve any tech, it's just pencil or pen and paper and all of that. So yeah, so that's the aim anyway for this evening, is just to sort of do a bit of doodling. I think this is recording, I'm assuming it's recording, so I think people are going to be able to kind of look at it later on. So I'm going to be using, I was going to go to a page here that I was using earlier. I'm going to be using mainly these pens. So we've got basically ink pens, varying kind of, where are we? So various sort of strength. This is kind of what I use for like a bit of a sort of light colour. This is one of the darker ones, that's where I sort of do all the detail, and this is kind of for doing a lighter wash. Also, I picked this up on Amazon. It's just a little spray bottle you can just kind of spray. It's like an atomizer. But it's pretty cool because you can do some diffuse effects around with the ink and stuff like that, whatever. So I'm not going to talk too much. I'm just going to sort of really have a bit of a doodle and yeah, see how we go. So welcome. I'm not sure how long this is going to be. Probably around about, I don't know, maybe an hour, something like that. So just doing some drawings, get some ideas, and that's it really. So welcome. Just hi Mushmelon. I recognise that name. Well, I recognise the name from Discord, but anyway, welcome, most welcome. So there's a weird thing as well with YouTube. There's a bit of a delay. So I'm just looking back now on the footage, and yeah, it seems to be a like sort of 8-second, 10-second delay on it. Oops. So yeah, so I'm kind of seeing things in post. But anyway, let's just start. I'm going to do, so I'm going to really just be doing some landscapes. I might just bring this camera in a little bit just to see if I can get in any nearer with that, and hopefully that's not going too out of focus. I think that's okay. Right. Yeah, I can see there's like quite a delay. Just looking back on YouTube, it's I've got a pretty good internet here actually, but yeah, it is very much behind. It's I'm just hoping it's all coming through. But Wayne is going to do, sort of to do some more videos like this anyway. Go more analog. So what I'm doing here is I'm just basically using this like a atomizer thing and just trying to kind of get like a smooth, so these are going to be like sort of clouds, something like that. And don't want to get it sort of too oversaturated, but sort of creating like a bit of a background anyway. And this is one with one of the lighter pens. You can use things like hair dryers as well if you're in a bit of a hurry, and you can kind of play around, you know, if you want to sort of speed up the process. I'm just going to sort of continue with it as it is at the moment. So I've got that sort of lightish colour with that one, and then I'm going to now go in with a darker colour. So like basically just start kind of building up sort of gradients in this landscape. So just trying to like keep it light and not too dark. Sort of build up sort of clouds and things like that. So we'll just give, it's more like an impression. So it's making a sort of suggestion of clouds. And then once you've kind of got the background in, and you can sort of start to make it more refined, so you've kind of got the main kind of area in here, and then you can just start really working into it. Broad brush strokes, and then you can start kind of going in with more detail. So I'm not even entirely sure where this is going. It's going to be, I know it's going to be like a sort of landscape. It's got this kind of cloud thing here. We've got the suggestion of maybe some hills going on here. But now I'll sort of probably like move in with some darker elements here and just sort of bringing those in. So just working your way from the back basically and layering it. But the main thing is just kind of is just to really just relax and don't try and sort of strive for perfection on this. I think it's mainly just, you know, this kind of stuff I think is really useful for just for sort of doing like daydream type stuff. But if you're trying to come up with ideas for concepts, you know, just at a very kind of like early stage stuff, early development, I think it's really really useful because you're not investing loads of time in doing like rendering and things like that. And I think also it's quite freeing in a way, particularly if you're doing, you can do this in Photoshop. I've done plenty of stuff like this in Photoshop, but there is something about just getting a pen and you know, paper like a sketchbook and just sort of working into it. It is quite satisfying because it's just a medium and it's real. And I don't think you can, as much as I love digital stuff, and I do love it, there is something quite special about doing you know, like drawings and ink and things like that. So I'm just doing some like suggestions of rock here, and I'm not sure where the light source is. It's kind of generally everywhere, but just sort of giving like suggestion of rock. Where I live, so I live in like Derbyshire, and you can go to some beautiful places like Lord of the Rings, places like Hathersage and yeah, Froggatt Edge and things like that, and you've got Padley Gorge, you've got all these kind of like ancient kind of woodlands, but certainly near Hathersage and like Grindleford, you've got like beautiful landscapes, like rocks. If you go online, if you go into Google and just type in, say, Froggatt Edge, Derbyshire rocks, and you'll see what I mean. You've kind of got so much inspiration for doing, you know, just for ideas and things like that. But it is definitely like, you know, like Lord of the Rings sort of like landscape. It's you know, quite sort of blessed up in Derbyshire for that kind of thing. But so yeah, so it's going to be this kind of just mainly. I tend to kind of do like default stuff with my sketches. I kind of tend to do like landscapes, and then I'll have a character probably pose. I know it's like a bit cliche, but I'll usually like pose a character somewhere in the foreground. But all I'm doing here is just really, I'm just kind of giving a suggestion of elements in the landscape. And you know, sometimes it's like you come across like happy accidents, stuff that you didn't really intend to do. So, but you can see here now. So it's starting to kind of build up. So the aim is really, I'm just going to be doing like just a series of kind of drawings or paintings, or call it what you will. Just starting with things like landscapes. You can put things like birds in there as well, so you can have a suggestion of. I'll just clean it up a little bit. You know, do a very, very faint. By the way, if you're interested in getting these brushes, you can just get them off Amazon for like £5. I'm not sure it'd be in the States. I do have quite a few viewers in the States, so that'd be what, $10? I don't know, close to $10. I'm not sure what the exchange rate is at the moment, but yeah, just a sort of crows or something like that. A murder of crows, as they say. Something like that. So you got like a bit of a sort of suggestion, a bit of a sort of conglomeration of something like that. And then we can have a kind of character. We can have some stuff. So we'll probably go a bit more dense, say here. So as we're kind of getting close now to the kind of foreground, it's going to be, so I'm just going to layer on this ink a little bit more. We're going to have this as a sort of, almost like a frame. So as you're kind of doing something like this, like a sort of landscape, you can have lots of detail. So you've got a light background, then you've got these hills, and then you've got this foreground here. And in the foreground, you can sort of make this almost like a sort of frame, so it's going to be sort of silhouetted. Maybe give us a like suggestion of rocks, maybe some like, you know, long grass, that kind of thing. You can have sort of going on there, and maybe some other rocks and things like that. But this is basically where you can kind of like slip in a character. And I don't know, I mean, I don't know where you can put it. I think it's good not to kind of put characters like dead center. So you could maybe think about like offset, you know, think about making it slightly off center, so you can maybe have something like a character like there. And just be bold. It's a bit like the Bob Ross thing, you know, and Bob Ross is doing his was doing his videos. You know, it's like it's, you know, talks about taking chances. You know, it's like just take some chances, be brave, and don't plan so much. It doesn't really matter. I mean, this could all go wrong. I mean, so far it's kind of gone, it's gone okay, but maybe on the next one it's not going to go okay. Maybe on the next one it's going to be, it's all going to go wrong, and I'll have to kind of start off again. So I'm going to have a sort of character, sort of there, just stood looking out over this kind of vista. And of course, you know, you can continue kind of working into it. You could even have like, you know, or maybe draw in with some of the other brushes. You know, you could have some kind of like something a bit more mountainous in the background. Again, just sort of giving a suggestion of sort of mountains and things like that. But definitely something to kind of play around with more. Photoshop, yeah, brilliant, love it. But you need to kind of like unplug and do some stuff that's kind of more, a bit more analog. Okay, so I'm going to bring this one to a close shortly and then start another one. But yeah, it's not a bad little sketch. Again, you could add some more characters to it if you wanted to, or maybe it's like a father with a, you know, with a child or something, whatever. You can sort of maybe have something like this going on. Again, I don't tend to kind of bother with doing like details like feet. You don't have to. At this resolution, when you're seeing like these kinds of views, you're not going to be putting in feet and hands and things like that. You're just giving a suggestion. It's an impression, really. So, but yeah, that's not too bad. That, you know, so the kind of thing that you probably see a lot of, and things like Pinterest and things like that. But I personally, I quite like it. I can't really get enough of stuff like that. I like landscapes, characters in landscapes. Always love that kind of stuff. All right, let's maybe have a look at. Let's have a look at doing maybe another landscape, but let's maybe change things around a bit and have a look at, say, trying to kind of change the view. Let's have a look at that. Let's have a look. So it's good to get reference. You know, I've got some image on my computer screen. I tend to look at a lot on Pinterest and just yeah, just getting inspiration from that really stuff. That's quite interesting because all artists look at either the other artists' work. It's how, you know, it's how you kind of get ideas. It's not about necessarily completely, you know, rinsing other people's kind of concepts or their IP, but it's just being inspired. All artists are inspired by other artists. You don't work in a vacuum as an artist. You don't. So, you know, definitely it's good to kind of get some inspiration. Right, let's have a look at, let's move this up a little bit just so we can see. Or maybe I'll just move the camera. Let's have a look. Maybe I'll just move the camera forward a little bit. How's about that? Something like that. Okay, so we've got that done there. Let's have a look at trying another one this time. Let's go with, what should we do this time? We'll have a bit of like some characters kind of climbing a rock face. What about that? We'll see how that turns out. So this has got part of a kind of rock face here. And we'll just bring start to say something like that. I'll probably use some of my little spray bottle there. And just try and smudge that out a bit, soften that a little bit, this kind of rock area. I don't want to get it too wet though, because you can, like I say, you'd have to use something like a hairdryer, because paper being paper, it's going to remain quite porous. But it's mainly just to kind of soften things up, soften up the line. Now we've got a bit of So we've got this kind of rock face here, and then what we'd have is like probably something like a kind of a horizon line. Let's say we're doing it on something like an angle. We'd have a sort of horizon line somewhere like there. And this could be like, I don't know, some kind of vista. So again, this is like using these pens. It's a bit like you're sort of sketching it out before you kind of put any details in. So I'm going to maybe we're going to have a sort of landmass maybe around about here. Maybe do a bit more of a spray. And this could be like could be a little coastal area. I don't know. So I've got this kind of profile of this rock where we're going to have our characters, and our characters are going to be climbing up this kind of rock face. And then we've got this kind of ledge area here. And then we've got, maybe it's coming down, something like that. So it might be a bit hard for you to sort of see at home, but it's basically just kind of getting like the kind of silhouettes in there. And then we can start to kind of work in a bit more detail. Let's put some sky in there as well. I may indeed just go and get some tissue just to kind of mop that. Okay. I'm just going to damp that a little bit. Put a bit more on there and just kind of dab that. Okay. Right. I'm going to start kind of working into it now. If I can just lessen that a little bit. And then just start, at least just trying to sort of start penning this in. So again, like this one, like this drawing here, it's just mainly just trying to get like an impression. So say something like that. fact, it's kind of windy. It'll certainly be windy up there, so I'm just going to maybe just give a suggestion with the coat, and then do something like a leg there. And then with the actual, so I'll probably have this more like silhouetted. So this is going to be, so obviously this is going to be like rock and mixtures of kind of rocks and tufts of grass and things like that. And it's kind of, as they're ascending, you know, there's going to be all manner of things up there, birds' nests, all manner of stuff. So let's just see where this goes. Okay. We kind of got this ground area here where our other character's going to be. So this is going to be like a little ledge. You're probably going to have some rocks on there, but mainly it's going to be sort of just a bit of a ledge. I can give this a bit of a spray. Soften this up a little bit. Same thing with this, I think. Just soften some of this area up. So it stays quite malleable. I'm using like rotary meat with this. So it's kind of, it'll kind of continue to, it won't like set. So you can actually continue working into it, which is quite handy. So again, just kind of giving suggestions of like rocks and grass and things like that. Maybe just spread this out a little bit here. I can use a bit of this spray as well. Something like that. And then just continue working into so I'm losing a little bit of definition in there. I was a little bit overzealous with the water there, so maybe we'll have another character. Stood, something like that. Stood kind of looking up. I'll just try and dampen that down a little bit. then maybe we can have a look at maybe instead of that, instead of it's maybe like a ridge, maybe it's like a little, not bridge, but it's like a little kind of gap. Maybe I could do something like that. So it's a bit like a sort of, they've had to kind of hop from there to there, that kind of thing. Again, it's quite interesting just kind of coming up with ideas for sort of storylines, really, and things like that. So a bit of a spray. Something like that. Okay, I'm going to leave that one there, I think. I'll move on to another one. So let's have a look at maybe this time round. Let's maybe have a look at, let's do some faces. So anyway, I'm just watching this by the way because I think people are kind of coming and going, but I've just been basically working on just doing some doodles in the sketchbook, doing some landscapes, and yeah, it's playing around with ink. I was just sort of doing these kind of things like characters kind of climbing, and now just sort of doing a character's face. So I tend to do a lot of digital stuff, but I like to just mix it up a little bit. I like to kind of keep a sketchbook, make things kind of analog, and yeah, just kind of it's a really nice way of just getting ideas as well as much as anything else. Using bits of inspiration, using things like Pinterest, ArtStation's good, things like that, or just working from imagination really. Sometimes you just let go and just sort of play around. Pens I'm using they're really cheap. You can get them off Amazon, like £5 a pack. I'm not sure it would be in the States. You're probably talking what, between $5 to $10. And it's using rotary ink. I haven't got any ink with me at the moment, but just watered down, and you can just draw with it. They're actually called like watercolor pens, but I use them with ink. Anyway, so that's it. So yeah, so just having a doodle really. I've not been. I do a lot of videos online, but I've not done a live stream for a while. So it's taken me a while just to kind of get set up this evening. So I'm hoping to kind of do it a bit more regular. I've got like was it Streamlabs, which is pretty cool. So it took me a while just to kind of get that sorted out. But yeah, so that's the aim anyway. I'm going to try and give everyone a little bit more notice as well. So if you do want to sort of tune in again, probably like Friday night is probably going to be the probably best night, late at night, so around about late evening, sort of 9 o'clock-ish, and depending where you are in the world, what your time zone is, that's kind of generally what it is. I could try and do something during the week, but I tend to be kind of like busy teaching, so that's the general plan anyway. So yeah, so just working on with a general kind of fix on the face there. Now I'm just going to bring this in a bit more central, a bit more there. There we go. And just start really just give them some details. I'm not really. I've done stuff like this over and over and over again, so I don't tend to kind of work with a lot of reference when it comes to stuff like this. I'm just kind of doing like sort of generic faces really. So I'm not sure what I've got going on here. Some kind of like God of War maybe, something like that. That kind of vibe. Brooks, hey Brooks, I've only just seen your message. Hey back to you if you're still here. So again, just kind of working into this really. Just it's good just to sort of take your time and just relax. Obviously, I'm doing a live stream, and you kind of when you're doing stuff like this, you want it to kind of like you really want it to kind of look okay, but it's not always going to be okay, and that's why it's good just to kind of try and experiment a little bit and try things out. Sometimes it goes right, sometimes it goes a bit wrong, but main thing is just relaxing and just really having some fun really. So I'm just going to put a little kind of moustache thing in here, and So mouth. Maybe we've got a rule, maybe a pirate, who knows. Maybe I'll give them an earring. Something like that. And then these kind of cheekbones, and again we're going to have this kind of beard. Something like that. And we've got some kind of character lines here for the forehead. And you can continue working into it, maybe some crow's feet. Something like that. Maybe give him like a wart on his nose, something like that. I don't know. And then you can just continue working into it. You can maybe go to another brush. Maybe work into the eyes. Darken the eyes down a little bit more. So if there's a light kind of shining down from there, we can kind of maybe do something like that. So, you know, the light's kind of, at least you've got like a bit of a shadow going on there. And maybe just under the nose. Just kind of make it pop out a little bit more. Cheekbones as well there. So at least you're kind of getting some highlights going on. The other side of the head there, maybe. Then on the lip. Might add a bit of spray to that beard. See what that does. Soften it up a little bit. Something like that. Let's try some other faces. Let's try. Let's maybe squeeze one on the side here. Where are we? Something like to the side. Let's see what we can do here. Let's do like a thinnish face and see what works out there. It's good to kind of play around as well with when you're trying to kind of come up with character designs, you know, try squashing and stretching your faces. And just seeing what you come up with, really. You know, try not to kind of keep it too formulaic. You know, sort of just keeping this as sort of a fairly vague at the moment. I can go into more detail like this character here, but for the meantime, it's just about just getting the basic structure in. You got that, what's it called, philtrum? I'm not sure what it's called, that bit beneath the nose anyway. And jawline area here. Again, I think it's just good to doodle, to be honest. I think just aimlessly drawing, I think, is a really good thing. It's a really good way of just letting your imagination go, really. I'm saying this as much to the people like in the chat at the moment, but also just anyone who's going to be watching this later, because obviously it's going to be sort of recorded. So just for anyone watching this later on, yeah, just to, you know, doodle. That's what the whole thing about doodling is about. I mean, I want to try and make this a bit more regular, as it were. I'm only just sort of really getting started with the live streams again, because I've been off for a while. So I've got Streamlabs set up, so hopefully I'll be able to start doing a little bit more. And maybe as it's like approaching Halloween, I'll turn this guy into a vampire. Maybe I'll do that. He's already got pointed ears. Sort of Nosferatu. Nosferatu. Okay. Okay, and then I'm going to go in with the darker pen now and start working into that. Let's do. I usually always start off with the eyebrows for some reason. I like doing eyebrows. So I'll do this kind of exaggerated, aristocratic eyebrows. Like that. Then now, generally speaking, I think when you're doing like evil characters, I think they're supposed to kind of have like very small pupils like that. I don't know if you can sort of see that on the screen. I think you can, yeah. Kind of soulless, kind of soulless kind of eyes, but as opposed to kind of big, you know, round and kind of dilated. And give him a sharp nose. And just have a look at these. Maybe sharpen these cheekbones a little bit. And then again, sort of come down to this jaw area. Whatever it is you're doing, the best thing to do is just kind of just keep working. One of the things I've found, particularly with drawing as well, is it's like any kind of skill. If you stop practicing, it does perish. So that's why it's always a good idea just to kind of try and always keep your hand in. It's like I've got this sketchbook here. Let's have a look. I've got some bits. That's probably not the best example. But I think I've showed earlier on. I was sort of showing my other sketchbook, and is this one? What is this one here? Let's have a look. Maybe not that one. So look at another one. Could it be that one? Maybe not that one either. But yeah, you know, I tend to kind of do lots of kind of doodles. These are old anyway. But yeah, you know, just things like that, sort of little landscapes and stuff like that. But always just having something on the go, jotting down ideas, trying things out. What's in this one here? Yeah, you know, stuff like that. And characters, but I've got another one knocking around somewhere. I think I misplaced it, but anyway. But yeah, just doodle, keep doodling. Doesn't matter what it is. Get those ideas down. Yeah, stuff like that. Okay. Just darken these eyes a little bit. It's not looking suitably ghoulish. So I'm just going to sort of darken those a little bit. So again, like the other character, I'm just going to darken just underneath those cheekbones, just going to give it a little bit more accentuation, and then just under the nose as well. So a little kind of drop shadow under the nose, and maybe on this bottom lip and the chin, just under the chin, and then maybe something like that. Okay, what else can we do? Let's have a look. What time are we at? Yeah, I think I've been going for, how long have I been going for? Yeah, just over an hour. I'm going to wrap things up soon. It was mainly just to kind of like just get back into the flow of it with live streaming anyway. So let's end it on another little landscape. Let's do that. Let's have a look. Let's try another little landscape. Let's see where we go. Let's say right about there. Okay, so let's have a look and see. I might just need a little bit of inspiration. I've got lots of inspirational stuff on Pinterest, so I'm just gonna go and check some of this out and just see what I can see. All right. Maybe something like that. We'll see anyway. Let's start off then with. I'm getting dangerously low, I think, on my ink, so I'll see how I get on. We'll go from here, say. And I'm going to use that little spray and just smudge that around a little bit. And sometimes you just got to let go a little bit as well, and just let the drawing do its thing. Sometimes, you know, as artists, you can kind of get in the way of things and be a bit too controlling. And this way, you can kind of just let go a little bit and just see what happens. Something interesting might happen. Allow a little bit of chaos into the scheme of things and just see where it goes. So, I'm going to do this kind of like, I'm not sure what it would be, like a ravine or something, I don't know. Something like a sort of valley. I'm just really just seeing where it's going to go. I've got some rough inspiration going on. I've just got a painting online. It's mainly for the values as much as anything else. So I'm just trying to kind of get an idea of what I can kind of do. Yeah, just really just in terms of like the values and colours and things like, well, not colours, obviously I'm not using colour, but different tones. Okay. And let's see with this, where this goes. So I think we'll have a little kind of ground area here. So you kind of start off with like you start off with a kind of some shapes, some blobs. You play around with them, and then just see where they go really. And then you can start to work into it. Big broad brush strokes. You don't quite know where it's going. You've got some idea, and then just follow your instincts really. If you want to, you can kind of put some more mountainous kind of areas in there. Maybe even it cuts across there. Maybe it's like that's kind of, this is in front of that. So maybe we just do something like that. I don't know. I'm making it up as I go along, but something like that maybe. And then you can move in, say, with another pen, so say this one here. And now it will get lighter. It's just sort of dark at the moment, but I'm just going to and also another thing as well is when you're doing stuff like this, and I'm just speaking from experience, I've done paintings, I've sold paintings before, you know, I used to kind of sell paintings in a gallery and used to do very, very big paintings. if you're not careful, you end up drawing for other people. And what I mean by that is you start getting too concerned about what people are going to think about your drawings or whatever it is, even if you're doing like modelling. And it's like a trap. And what you need to do is you need to basically drop the idea completely and almost become, what's the word? You just need to insulate yourself a little bit when you're doing stuff like this, because otherwise you can kind of start to get too concerned about what other people are going to think about your work. And you need to be a little bit more, I don't mean like selfish, but you need to be a bit more insulated and stop really worrying about what other people are thinking. That's just me personally, creatively over the years. I've been, I've been drawing all of my life, and but certainly professionally and on a professional level, and I've had the pressures of work and creating stuff in movies, doing things like prop designs and concepts and things like that. So I know what that pressure is, but at the same time, but particularly when you're doing, I think it's more like personal stuff, maybe even a bit professionally as well. You need to really drop any kind of ideas of being too concerned about what people think. Obviously, on a commercial level, that's slightly different because you've got expectations. But when you do stuff like this, it's like, sod it. You just do what you want to do. And if it doesn't turn out the way you want it to turn out, then so be it. It's not really any bother, to be honest, at the end of the day. But it can start. The reason I mention it anyway is because it can stifle you creatively, and it kind of has a kind of paralyzing effect if you're not careful, where you're not able to move freely creatively. And that can be, it could just be a hindrance, more of a hindrance than a help, let's put it that way. Okay, so I don't know what's going on here. I've kind of got this kind of like mountainous area, but we've kind of got these like bridges. I quite like the idea of having like these kind of bridges going along there. So this could be like almost a habitat, that kind of thing. Again, who knows? I don't know. I'm making it up as I go along, but let's just... maybe just, again, I'm going to sort of go with that foreground to background thing. So let's say we're just going to create this kind of rocky area there. And then I can sort of start to go in with the darker pen. So I'll bring it, I think it's all right. Yeah, I've got sort of a fair amount of ink in there. And then just start thinking about, okay, well, where to start. I might be inclined to, like with the background, I'll be inclined to kind of leave that. And then maybe, and you want a focal point when you do stuff like this as well, so you want to have a place of focus. Now, that might be that I make the place of focus here, again, like with the previous drawing of the landscape, but I might just have a play here. I might just kind of soften some of these areas up, and I think I'm just kind of making a suggestion of like details. I don't actually really know what these details are, but it's a bit like you can kind of really just let your imagination go and think, okay, so maybe some like rock formations, things like that. Who knows? And maybe on this bridge that we've got going on here, maybe there's a suggestion of kind of people on there, so to kind of show scale. You're not, I mean, again, these are you can't really tell these are people, but if you're just sort of trying to create an impression, it's just mainly for you when you do stuff like this. So that's kind of running into there. I might be inclined to really sort of maybe just darken this a little bit. I might just take a sort of bit of a bold step and just really open this up a little bit, and so this is going to be in the foreground. Okay, so I'm going to, yeah, just kind of do something like that, paint into it that way, something like that. So this is going to be like, so again, it helps to kind of frame what we're doing here. So we know now this is kind of not going into there. It's kind of, you know, we could even have things like, it could be like maybe grass or rocks again. Who knows? And have that kind of coming down to, say, there. The beauty of doing stuff like this is, like, you're not, this is just for you. So this is just for you to kind of come up with ideas. So you're kind of off the clock, really, when you do stuff like this. You don't really have to be, you know, what's the word, be too preoccupied with what, whether it's going to work out or not. You want everything to kind of work out, but it's not written in stone. And sometimes, I mean, there's a lot of times I've been doing stuff and it just doesn't work out for whatever reason. You start a drawing and it's like, no, it's not quite happening. Same thing with modelling as well. When you're doing like creating a prop or an environment or sculpting a character, it's like you start something. I put hours and hours, endless hours into doing stuff like that, and you get to the end of it and it's like, it's crap. It's just, that's it. There's no other word for it. It's just not very good. And I've got loads of like stuff that I've kind of started and stopped, and it'll never see the light of day because it's just not really worked out. It's just the way it goes. It's not a big deal. But I think you do also learn things though along the way, which is pretty cool. I mean, that's the takeaway. You may not have anything like literally to sort of show, but there's what you're learning along the way, or learning what not to do. Let's put it that way. Right, so I've got that in the background there. I'm going to sort of bring that there. So I'm just looking at the time. Okay, so probably spend like another, say, 10 minutes, and I think we'll wrap up. So, so again, I think it's just mainly like focusing on stuff like this in the distance, and I might be inclined just to leave that there and leave that. I might just get the old spray bottle on there. Dampen that down a little bit. Maybe put a bit on, darken that down a little bit, but I don't want it as dark as the foreground. So I might just use the tissue on that and just dampen that down a little bit. So a lot of just kind of going back and forth really. And just see where it goes. Maybe you can just like smudge the edge of some of this without really like smudging the entire thing. Maybe like parts of this are in shadow, you see, so you might have like some light, parts of it are like silhouetted. And then you've got these mountains in the distance. And you can continue working into it, so you can maybe have like one there, might just get the old spray bottle on there. Soften that a little bit, and again, a lot of this will just lighten, but just dampen those down a bit. Just not so aggressive. And just see where it takes you. So I'm not sure what. Yeah, it's kind of mountainous, and you've kind of got some stuff going on here. We've got some of these other kind of rock formations here again that might be in danger of being lost, so maybe you can soften these out a little bit. And again, it's what you want it to be, really. Just keep working into it. Put some other details in there. I don't know, maybe it's like it could be like a sort of pathway, alien landscape, something like that, or some kind of mythical landscape. Sedimentary layers, that kind of thing. And you can change things around as well, so don't think, even though you put in all this other stuff in here, you can always, as long as there's room to do it, change things around. So I'm just kind of doing these kind of rocks. And I might be tempted to maybe bring something there like so. Again, what I'm doing here is I'm just attempting to kind of frame it. I'll probably put like a character here or something, but I just want to kind of give it like a frame. Like this is like all part of these formations, and then you have another kind of character. You know, coming in something like that, this kind of area. But yeah, we're kind of almost coming to a close now. I just wanted to probably just get this kind of character in. I mean, it could be all manner of things. If you want to kind of take something like this, then work into it a more like rendered concept, or you could get a photograph of it, and then you could say put it on an image plane in Blender or in Maya or ZBrush, and then start to model from it. You know, you could you've got your general idea there, or alternatively, you know, with the wonders of things like Quicksilver Bridge, you can you know, go into Unreal. In an Unreal, you could basically start bringing in some mega scans, and then start to you know, create a little kind of environment, do a bit of level design, something like that. That's always an idea as well. So, world's your oyster with what you do with this, but I think it's good to kind of like at least just sketch it out before you kind of like get into doing stuff like that. So I might just do something like that. I was going to put a character there, wasn't I? So I think what I'll do is I might just soften this all up a little bit, if I can, if it'll let me. And something like that. have either a character or some characters. Again, this is one of the beauties of doing like silhouettes, is you can give a suggestion of a character without going into too much detail. So we've got something like that, and maybe the game can maybe have another. Should we do another character? Have another character there. So maybe it's like a gang, or maybe they're on a quest. Maybe not so much a gang, it's more of a kind of Lord of the Rings kind of sort of quest. That kind of thing. Maybe I'll have another. Should I do another character? It's kind of getting lost a little bit now, but I'll do another little character anyway. For what it's worth. It's kind of getting a bit lost there. But again, you could just continue working into it. You could even put this kind of stuff into Photoshop and play around it that way. So maybe we could have some. Again, we could have some birds in there. Something like that. It's an idea anyway. It's an idea, it's a sketch, it's good for inspiration, it's good for your soul, and you know, gets the ideas flowing, which is what it's all about really. Okay, so just to recap, so we've been working on doing this little environment here with some characters, which was fun, and then before that we were doing our I don't know, God of War type character and some kind of Nosferatu character. Then we had our rock climbing characters, kind of climbing some kind of more of a verge. I don't know. Is it a verge? Maybe it's a mountain. I don't know. So we've got that, and then lastly, we're just going to go back to the beginning there, and we've got our little landscape. I think this probably first one. It's probably one of my favourites, I think, because you do get fatigued as well. So I think as time goes on, when you're doing drawings as well, you can kind of lose power, and there's only so much in your battery, as it were. So, but yeah, so I think that's probably for me. That's probably going to be like a sort of takeaway. The one's pretty good. Right, that's interesting, but I think yeah, I think if I was to kind of pick, it probably would be that one there. Anyway, well, that's it really. So I'm going to try and make this more of a regular thing. I'm going to try and give people a heads up as well. Oh, I've got some messages. Oh, Brooks. So Brooks, I don't know if you're still in the chat. I'm just going to go and have a look now. I've been so engrossed. So Brooks, if you are in the chat, or maybe you'll come back to this if you're not here already. So I'll have a look. So could you tell me the difference between general? Oh, thanks, very nice. That's very kind. So could you tell me the difference between general illustration and concept art, and what concept art really consists of? Good question. So Brooks, yes, certainly. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, excellent. You're still here. Well, I've kind of done work as a concept artist a little bit anyway. When I used to work in movies, did a little bit there. And I did some commercials as well, doing that. It's a very fine line when you're doing concept. I would say the difference with illustration, I guess, and concept art is, because my mum was an illustrator, and also I had some friends who were illustrators. It tends to be very much focused on. It's like a commercial art, and it's finished. It's a finished thing. Concept art tends to be more about giving like the director and the production designer or art director, and depending whether it's games or even movies, is to give them an idea of what the scene is going to be, or a character is indeed going to be. When I worked on the film Kick-Ass, so I did like, even though the comic existed already, I did some designs of the suit, because I think they were initially thinking about doing some redesigns of it, and then they ended up they did change it a little bit, but I had the sort of the honour of I say working with John Romita. It was mainly just kind of emailing him kind of illustrations, because he was kind of doing the main illustrations for the film. But he was doing pretty much finished work there, like finished illustrations. It's a fine line, though. It's a good question, because you can do some stuff which is quite basic, and then you can do you could do some stuff that's quite detailed. So it all depends. I've heard in a few videos regarding concept art that people don't often have the proper understanding of what. Yeah. It's true, because I think it gets a bit blurred. I think both of them kind of get a bit blurred. But generally speaking, concept art is it's commercial art like illustration is, but it's mainly for the function of it. So if you've got a presentation to do for an art director or a director, then, and it might be, they'll ask you in the morning and then they want it in the afternoon. So they don't necessarily want something that's completely and utterly finished. It's mainly a visualization. So if you wanted to distill it down, it's going to be more, concept art is going to be more about just getting a general impression, whereas illustration is more rendered, more detailed. But again, the lines blur. Although I don't quite get what that means, I assume that as a concept artist, you're meant to provide a design that provides answers to a set of questions regarding the character, environment, etc. Yes, yeah, it can be a bit less formal than that. So if you're working with a production designer or an art director, you'll be just chatting about it, and you'll have things like mood boards, and you'll kind of go through stuff like that, and you'll kind of play around. So it's not as formal. Well, it can be formal. It depends what you're doing. If you're working on a movie, it can just be a sort of general chat. If you're working more commercially, because I did some commercials many years ago for, oh goodness, quite a few, some jeans adverts, and oh goodness, McCain's Oven Chips was another one, and what was the other one? There's one for Nurofen, do like painkillers. But it tends to be, oh, we want it a bit like this, we want it a bit like that, and they don't really have an idea of what they want. They just kind of tell you, and you're supposed to kind of sift out, and then you will kind of work with them. So it's very much an organic thing. It can be just a conversation, really. So it'd be nice to know if there are certain things that one should aim for when making concept art. So I think concept art-wise, what you should be aiming for is, right, on a practical level, and this is what I say to my students, is always be working from reference. So make sure you get things like mood boards, things like mind maps, so whether that's for characters or environments, you want to be looking at stuff like that. In terms of like making the practicalities, I would strongly advise, well, a few things. One is working in a sketchbook, like what I'm doing here, sketching some ideas. Now, if your drawing skills are not like that advanced, what you could do is work in 3D. So I have a lot of students who are perhaps not so good with the drawing, but they're really skilled with the modeling. So blocking things out, say in Blender or in Maya, is quite good, and playing around the lighting. If you look on my channel, also I did a few weeks ago, I did a block out in Blender, just playing around with lighting and things like that, and that can be really good because you can just render it out and then work into it in Photoshop. You can like photo bash, use photographs, things like that. So that's one thing. So I think certainly sketchbook. I think certainly blocking things out in 3D. I think going forward with concept art, I think more and more in my time when I was working in movies, for example, there were more and more concept artists using 3D. There's very few who were just starting off with drawing, so using things like Maya, 3ds Max, ZBrush. I think even Blender. I think someone used Blender. Google SketchUp was another one, and then blocking things out that way, doing things. Also, Unreal Engine's a good one as well. That's totally free. Blender's totally free, and Unreal Engine's totally free. Quixel Bridge is totally free as well, and Quixel Mixer, Quixel Bridge, things like that. Yeah, I think definitely if you're thinking about a way to go, start working in 3D, do some drawing. It doesn't mean you can't do drawing as well, but I think certainly for speed and getting concepts together quickly, I think 3D is definitely a way. Das 3D is another one as well. If you're not aware of that program, you can actually, that's totally free to download, and you can get characters. You can play around with some of the parameters and make them, tall, thin, very wide, or whatever the case may be. You can make aliens in there, things like that. So you've got a myriad of different softwares that you can use. And then start, if you're just starting out, Brooks, then I would suggest certainly if you think about getting a portfolio together, is doing that. Depending on where you're at, I mean, I'm not sure how old you are, where if you're still at school, or maybe you've gone into college, or maybe you're at university. I'm not entirely sure, but certainly I've taught all different age ranges, and my advice tends to be like, if you're younger, I think just experiment and try things out before you go to kind of college. And then if you're at college, I would say start really gearing your portfolio. Try and like narrow it down to like something that you're really, an area that you're really interested in, whether it's doing character designs, environments, or props and things like that. And then I think as university artists, university students, as concept artists, if that's what you want to do, then certainly I think you need to be really centering on very specific things like environments or characters or props and things like that. So anyway, apart from that, that's it. So unless you've got any other questions, I'm going to wrap things up. It's been a real pleasure. It's been a pleasure also answering some of your questions, and I'm going to try and aim for next week, Friday next week again, and just maybe around about some other time. So I'll try and put a little notification on my site that I'll be doing it on YouTube, and just give you a little bit of a heads up. Yeah, awesome. No, my pleasure, Brooks. My pleasure. That's what I'm here for. I love doing this stuff, and I love helping. So any advice that I can kind of give, absolutely, that's what I'm here for. So that's it, really. So look out for more videos to come, and thanks for tuning in, as I said, and yeah. Enjoy wherever you are, Brooks, or anyone else, whether it's daytime, whether it's evening. Have a nice time wherever you are, and a wonderful weekend. And yeah, look forward to seeing you in the next live stream. So that's it. It's night time here. Yeah, you too. You have a good one, and take it easy. And I shall see you in the next live stream. Okay, take care. Bye for now.